It's schedule release day for the Redbirds. Welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your podcast. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Mr. Bulbrock, live at the PHNX headquarters in downtown Phoenix. And we are puzzle piecing together this 2023 NFL schedule, Bulbrock, for our precious Redbirds. And dare I say, we've almost cracked the code.
I think we almost have our final crossword puzzle complete as far as the 2023 slate goes for the Arizona Cardinals, thanks to the team themselves or some ticket provider releasing the home tickets to some season ticket holders. That happened earlier this morning. You had one job. It's like all this cloak of just hiding the entire schedule so the NFL can do this big reveal. And Cardinals fans, season ticket holders are like, oh, I got the tickets right here. I know who they play almost all of their 8 home games this year. They're going to have 8 at home, 9 on the road. And we have all but 3 games filled out. We'll have to check our work here, of course, when the schedule gets unveiled here in a half hour. But looks like it's pretty good, Johnny.
It is. It kind of hurts my soul, though. I saw that information leaked out this morning. I was taking my son to school. And, Suze, who's a big Cardinal fan, she put it out on Twitter. And I was like, this got leaked out. And she's like, no, it's just made available. But then the Cardinals took it down. I'm like, yeah, it got leaked out. It wasn't on purpose. It was on accident. And so it kind of does us a little bit of disservice because I like working hard for some sources for the people of PHNX Cardinals. So we were gifted an early Christmas present with the home schedule. So we know the home schedule. Let's talk about the schedule that we know right now.
Let me just piggyback your leak. If you have air in your tire and then air escapes your tire, it's leaking out.
Yeah. It's not a gift. It's not an unprompted gift. You want to take a look at what we got going on so far?
Absolutely. Let's not waste any more time. Let's take a look. Producer Emma has been working hard on this, not just today, but actually for the last couple of weeks, putting together this 2023 season slate for the Arizona Cardinals. And Johnny, let's unveil it.
Let's.
Two seconds.
You need a couple minutes, seconds. All right.
2 seconds.
All right. We know who they're going to debut with via our guy, Jordan Schultz of The Score, friend of the program, came out roughly early this afternoon. And the Cardinals are going to open the season, not at home. I made an incorrect prediction yesterday. I said, it's going to be home maybe against the LA Rams. No, that is not happening. It is going to be at Washington against the Commanders. Jacoby Brissett against his ex-OC quarterback coach and Drew Petzing, Bulbrock. Cardinals start on the road for the first time, I think, since 2 years ago. They went to Tennessee. What do you make of week 1 for the Arizona Cardinals on the road against a team that a lot of people think may not be very good?
Yeah, when we put together kind of our opponent tiers, we had Washington. There it is. There it is in all its splendor. What we believe to be all but 3 of the Arizona Cardinals games this season, including their bye week. So, Washington Commanders, September 10th, just outside the nation's capital in BFE, Maryland. You'll have the Arizona Cardinals taking the field on one of the worst stadiums in the NFL. There's sewage that's pouring from the upper deck of that stadium.
Yeah.
Maybe, but we had the Commanders is in the bad tier as far as bad teams that the Cardinals will face. So could they potentially open the season with a dub that nobody was expecting this rebuilding Arizona Cardinals team, but opening the season with a win? They could potentially get that against Washington. I know that they have talent, especially on the defensive side of the football. You're going to have a motivated Chase Young. You know that on the defensive line, they've got some really talented players, including Daron Payne. And then you've got the back end of that, the defensive secondary, some talented members as well. They just drafted Emmanuel Forbes in the first round. And then on the offensive side, a lot more question marks, but you know that you've got a good running back and Brian Robinson, and of course, scary Terry McLaurin, as far as one of the top wide receivers in Jahan Dobson as well. So there's talent on the Commanders roster. I would assume that they're going to be favored in this game to open things up, no doubt about it. But still an opportunity for the Cardinals to go on the road. We'll see what the quarterback matchup looks like. You mentioned Jacoby Brissett. Could it be Sam Howell that they maybe bet on in year 2? And then we'll see what the Cardinals trot out there. Is it Colt McCoy? Is it David Blau? Is it Clayton Tune?
I mean, these are, if Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, and Budda Baker played, these are winnable games. They're not going to be games that the Cardinals are favored in necessarily, but these are obtainable games. Let's see the schedule one more time, Emma, because I want to really focus on these first three.
Yeah.
So Dallas is a real playoff contender. We talked about it yesterday in our tier breakdown. I think both Bo and I feel pretty adamant the Giants are going to take a little bit of a step back this year, and they do not blow you away with anything they do. I mean, Washington and the Giants, outside of, a Houston or a Pittsburgh, I mean, or maybe a Rams, like those are some teams you would not mind facing early. And I also think the coaching in the NFC West with Pete Carroll and Kyle Shanahan in particular is so immense and elite. Those guys get better as the season goes on. How many times have we seen Kyle Shanahan get beat by a Chicago in week 1, right? Go on to Atlanta and lose. So I love week 4 against San Francisco. I think, again, health permitting, that those are going to be competitive games. There is not a gauntlets row. Remember last year, Cardinals had maybe the hardest schedule in the NFL, according to Football Outsiders. Like, you look at this, and again, I don't know how many games are going to be favored in Bo Brock, but especially these first 4, it's like, it would not surprise me at all if Kyler Murray's back and playing for them to win 2 of 4. If Kyler Murray doesn't play, I think, again, it's going to be difficult to win any game without K1. But if you're playing with Kyler Murray at some point, and week 4, you're into October now, and if you've got DeAndre Hopkins and you've got Budda Baker and Hollywood Brown's healthy, like these are not going to be, remember the spreads that we saw at the end of last year for the Arizona Cardinals? It was like 12, 15, 17, right? Against San Francisco, against some of the, elite teams at the end of the year. This schedule, I know it was daunting initially on paper, that they are going to be more competitive, I would venture to say, than people think.
Well, let me just point this out, though. I mean, after week 1, you're facing 4 teams that were in the postseason last year in a row.
Yeah, but two of those teams do not have what I think are franchise quarterbacks. And San Francisco, they have an elite roster. The Giants overachieved. The Bengals are the real deal. Absolutely, you've got Joe Burrow, their offense, like that team of those teams scares me the most. But like, I don't know. The Giants, to me, everybody has tape on Daboll and company for a year. That's not a game I think, well, the Cardinals just have no shot to win. I don't feel that way. And again, it's hard to decipher the schedule as it relates to all this because we don't know when K1's coming back. That's why I think the Cardinals over-under for the year, Bo, is the hardest to predict in the NFL because, again, is Kyler back week 1? Is he back week 10? Right? But I'm sure everybody who's looking at the Cardinals on their schedule saying that's a win.
And I feel like we're going to go through this for a third straight year. Like the ankle in 2021, and then last year was the hamstring. Like, when is Kyler Murray going to truly be available? And with this injury, you might get a little bit more transparency from the coaching staff than you did the previous 2 seasons. But it's going to be like, okay, when can we realistically think that Kyler Murray is going to get back? Because as we kind of went through the timeline yesterday, Jonathan Gannon, he said this to us at the Combine. He's reiterated this throughout his media availability since the Combine, that Kyler Murray needs to be 100% mentally, and he has to be 100% physically, of course. So looking at the schedule, I mean, you might put it back up. This is going to be a heavy schedule on the screen day. Washington, but then you've got, Danny Dimes, and you've got the New York Giants at home, State Farm Stadium. Then you've got Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys in week 3. And then the San Francisco 49ers October 1st, and then Joe Burrow. It's like that's a little tough. I mean, the first 5 games, it's tough. Washington's tough in the sense that it's on the road, and then you get a little reprieve. You got, the Rams potentially week 6. The Seahawks, I'm looking at the stretch, though, from week 9 to about through week 16, Johnny.
Yeah.
Where if this team can catch a stride of any sense, right? If it can start, really grasping Drew Petzing's offense, if it can grasp Nick Rollis's defense and in the energy of its head coach by week 9, I think, Cleveland is definitely a team that they could compete with. Atlanta's a team, especially at home, that 100%. You can compete with. The Texans, the Rams, of course, Pittsburgh. I mean, those are, and then Chicago after, a tough San Francisco game. Like, that's the stretch right there that, you could probably create some momentum for the following season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think Jonathan Gannon playing 3 teams from the NFC East is a benefit to kick off the year. I know it's not his personnel from Philadelphia. You don't think he's got a familiarity with Washington? What did he do, albeit with Eagle players, last year in the postseason against the Giants, right? Held them to 7 points in 4 quarters. He knows Danny Dimes. Sam Howell, I'm not sure if he played against Sam Howell, but he knows what they want to do offensively for Washington.
I think the Eagles went 1-1 against Washington last year, or at least
Yeah.
Washington. They in the second game they were put up some points against Gannon's defense.
Well, and it was Minshew playing that game. There was no Jalen Hurts in that game, if I remember correctly. Can I just say for the schedule gods, thank the schedule gods for a Week 18 matchup against Philadelphia, where there's a good chance Kyler Murray is playing probably his best football to date, and we don't have to sacrifice our boy JG to those ridiculous media members in Philadelphia within the first quarter of the season when the Cardinals are getting their bearings about themselves. I put this out on Twitter, tongue in cheek, but it is unbelievable. They start the season with 3 straight games in the NFC East, and none of which are against Philadelphia. I think that's fantastic. Week 17 against the Eagles on December 31st. That's almost best case scenario, because you don't know what the Eagles are playing for. Gannon, you would assume he's got complete buy-in. His defense is humming, and then you've got Kyler Murray. Sign me up for that game, 100%. I'll tell you another game. Sign me up for Week 11, November 19th. At the Houston Texans, with ramifications for a top pick either way. I know a lot of people were hoping that would be like the finale. I was hoping Week 18, let's do Houston, Arizona, but obviously saving that for a divisional matchup against Seattle. But Week 11 is going to be a name or a week that a lot of people circle on their calendar. How many wins do the Cardinals have? How many wins, we'll be charting it, do the Houston Texans have? It'll be interesting, Bo.
Yeah, let me ask you, speaking of interesting, and sorry to kind of take it back a little bit as far as the first quarter of this season, or at least the first 5 games. If you're staring down Kyler Murray coming back, and say you don't have an ideal start to the season, it's a tough start on the road. The Giants find a way like they did most of last season, get a dub. Dallas and Dak are too much, and San Francisco is every bit the contender people believe they are. And then you've got Cincinnati flexing on them. I mean, there's a realistic chance where through 5 weeks of the season, you could have 1 or no wins. How does that change how you approach Kyler Murray coming back to this football team, or does it?
Man, it's the $1 million question. And I think that's the question that they don't have an answer to right now, because again, let's say it's week 15, it's the week after the bye, and you've got 1 or 2 wins under your belts, and you're firmly supplanted in that Caleb Williams conversation, Bo Brock. What good does it do to have Kyler Murray play for you? I don't know. But I think this team's going to surprise people, and I don't believe, and Houston could prove me wrong, but their schedule's pretty easy. I don't believe this team's going to be in a position where you're sitting Kyler Murray at all next year, whether it's for Caleb Williams, and everybody's running with that narrative, and we've acknowledged it on this show because we'd be naive not to. But number one, I don't think Kyler Murray's taken till November to come back. I also think they've invested on the offensive line. I like the pieces that they have there to protect him. Mm-hmm. This offense is going to be very run heavy, run dominant, and they're not going to ask him to do a ton. But I think that narrative about K1 not playing, I think there are going to be some naysayers that are proven wrong come July and August when he looks good. And the temptation is going to be there. I don't think they pull the trigger right away. I would be shocked if he played in September. But even if they start 0-4, Bo, and it's October, I mean, you've got a lot of football left to play. And and Kyler Murray wants to play for the city and for his teammates. He's chomping at the bit to get out there. It also is not good, I believe, for Kyler Murray's development long-term to have him miss basically a full season of football, and to go from whenever he got hurt in November of 2022 until 2024, that's too long. So, record be damned, outside of being winless and going after Caleb in the fourth quarter of the season, I think Kyler Murray plays. I think he plays early.
Let's get to some of these chat messages here. Everybody killing it, of course, on the chat. I think Jose makes a good point here as far as we don't see any primetime games. And I think it's a good thing for this team right now. I mean, you don't want to go undermanned in a rebuilding season and have to compete when the lights are a little bit brighter. I mean, you already had a couple incidents on primetime last. Like, we haven't seen this team perform well on primetime for far too long. Why kind of prolong that streak when you're not going to have your roster, like as much confidence as we have in a guy like JG, turn things around, and Monty Ossenfort, making some great draft picks. We talked to a couple of them today, and we're impressed by them. But are they going to be ready for prime time? I think that this organization can benefit from, working its way up to its way into some primetime games slowly. Go from, potentially 0 now to more, maybe two to next season, and then hopefully 4 and more the season after that. It's a slow build to where, you don't take on too high of expectations too early in the beginning of a rebuild.
Yeah, 100%. And primetime games are earned. They're not given unless you're in a major market and you've been established for a hot minute. The Cardinals haven't earned any primetime games, and networks are scared to death to put this team on national TV without Kyler Murray. I mean, what is the benefit of that if you're a national TV, person? And you can't say, well, just put him in November and December. Kyler Murray will be back. What the conversation Bo and I just had leaves a lot of doubt there. And when people look up,
they have 4 last year. I mean, they had the Thursday night football where Kyler and the Cardinals rolled the Saints, but then after that, it was like
Patriots.
You had the brutal Mexico City Monday night game with Colt McCoy starting. Patriots, you get a couple snaps from Kyler before he tears his ACL, and then you had Tampa Bay. Look at that. Emma Ghost Hands over here getting this up from 2022 schedule. Man, what a nightmare. This just gives me the heebie-jeebies looking back at this.
But look at that gauntlet last year. I mean, that's about as difficult of a schedule from 1 year to the next. Like, they earned their 4th place schedule. Let's take our flowers that we get to play Atlanta and the Chicago Bears, right? And the Commander. Like, come on now. Everybody just needs to say, please, God, thank you. I don't have to face the AFC West again. We don't have to face the Patriots again or the Chargers again. The Rams were coming off a Super Bowl, right? I mean, that is murderer's row. The Vikings won their division. I mean, that was an absolute bloodbath last year.
Yeah, it was. It proved to be, and it was fun at times to go to that stadium later in the evening and then know that it wasn't going to. I mean, they were competitive. They won the Saints game. They got routed in Mexico City. It was tight against Tampa. It was tight against the Patriots. But
those were watchable games.
Really disappointing losses, though. They were. And it was tough, obviously, with following the Kyler injury. But and then we see pretty much the last home game for J.J. Watt. We didn't know it at the time.
They're just not a trustworthy team on national TV. Yeah. You can't trust them. So if I'm a network executive, I'm just like, if I don't have to put them on this year, I'm not going to. But if we fast forward and Marvin Harrison Jr. is on the team in 2024, that's a different conversation, right? Like, the Atlanta Falcons are going to get games on national TV this year because of Bijan Robinson, right? People want to see that guy play. The Cardinals, they would get a token Thursday night game, as Bo mentioned, like, that's gone. The NFL says, nope, we're not going to put hamstrings for conferences on certain channels. It's like, we're dictating it based on the ratings. And like, that's how it should be. It's like, put your best foot forward for advertisers, for sponsors. Everybody gets an equal check for the NFL owners. Everybody gets an equal slice of the pie. But if you've got your hand raised in the back and you're coming off of a 3 or 4 win season and you own your franchise quarterback and you're gutting your team, it's like, why, if I'm NBC or ABC or CBS, like, why am I putting you on national TV? And if I'm a Cardinal fan, I'm like, this team needs to lay fucking low for 12 months and do the right things on and off the field as a football operation. And then come back and let Kyler Murray and everybody sneak up on the rest.
If they can give the old Johnny V surprise that you keep on talking about, like if Kyler Murray comes back healthier than in a time frame that people aren't expecting, and he and this offense balls out, and then some of the draft picks and the underrated free agents come together on the defensive side of the football, and they shock the NFL world, that's great. But with lower expectations takes away a lot of the pressure on the front office, the coaching staff, and of course the players. So that just bodes well for the Cardinals to come out of nowhere, because if you put any expectation on this outside of it being a rebuild, and I know the head coach says he cringes when he hears that word, but we're being realistic here. That's anything outside of that. Any like sign of being ahead of schedule is great for this fan base.
So I just got tipped off. So take this for what it's worth. Every game the Cardinals are going to play this fall is going to be on Sunday, which leads me to believe that there's not going to be a primetime game this year. No Monday night, no Thursday night, no Saturday game, and then I don't think they're gracing our screens on Sunday Night Football.
Sunday, bloody Sunday, every week.
Every week, this team's going to play on.
I take comfort
Sunday.
in that. Is somebody is a
our wives do, certainly.
Kind of daily habits get regimented. We just know that every Sunday you're going to be hanging out with us at the BetMGM Sportsbook, watching the Arizona Cardinals play football, and you don't have to think otherwise. You don't have to say, "Oh, is my Thursday night open? Is Saturday going to be available late in the season? Monday night, can I make plans?" Yeah, you can. Sunday, your plans are with us, watching the Cardinals play football at the BetMGM, whether it's home or away. It's going to be awesome, Johnny. So that's a nice little tidbit. So it gives us confidence as far as the schedule that this team here, this PHNX Cardinals team, has put together.
Yeah, and we feel good about the schedule that we put together, and I can't wait to hang out with all of you guys at BetMGM Sportsbook. Not only this fall, but can I get a Game 7 in my life for the Phoenix Suns and company? So we've got Game 6 tonight, Bo Brock. You can dabble with our friends at BetMGM Sportsbook right now. Suns money line, my pick of the week. Book it right now. I need it in my life. I'm done apologizing for DeAndre Ayton. I mentioned this on our bet show earlier today with Shane Diefenbach. Like, people who hate on Kyler Murray, like, I think DA is the new public enemy number one right now in the Valley until his ass is shipped out of town, because he is not playing tonight. It is the Phoenix Suns hosting the Denver Nuggets in Game 6. You can bet on it with our friends at BetMGM Sportsbook. We've got so much good stuff going on with our friends at BetMGM. Let me tell you right now, there are every single Sunday this fall, as Bo mentioned, we're going to be there home and away. We're going to be partying with you at BetMGM Sportsbook. I also want to tell you, this fall right now, you can do watch along parties with Bo and I for away games. There's going to be drink specials. There's going to be giveaways. Every time you're out at the Great Lawn at State Farm Stadium, come up and say hi to Bo Brock and myself. I also want to tell you guys right now, the watch parties for the PHNX Suns Cruise presented by Neutral, they've had a banner time, and we want to keep those good times going. So hopefully the Suns can keep it together. But in the meantime, you want to dabble with them. You want to use that bonus code PHNX when you do, and you're a new customer, you're going to get up to $100 back in bonus bets. Again, PHNX is the bonus code. You're going to get $100 on bonus bets with your first wager with BetMGM. Make sure you're using that bonus code PHNX. Check out the show notes for details. And now listen to my guy Shane talk about it in the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
Looking for a spot to watch tonight's Game 6 for the Phoenix Suns and Denver Nuggets. How about check out Four Peaks? Four Peaks is an unbelievable place to go check out a game. Obviously, drink some great beer. They've been around for 25 years. They've been brewing it up that long, if not longer, but officially 25 years this year. Go get yourself a kilt lifter to celebrate. Get that bourbon barrel kilt lifter. It's so smooth. If you're an IPA guy or gal, get that Hop Knot, or maybe get that Wow Wheat, #1 wheat beer in Arizona. Don't miss out on all the great beer that Four Peaks has, all the great events that are going on. I'm contemplating, somebody might want to walk me out of this, taking my wife, mother of my child, there for Mother's Day this Sunday. I think it'd be a fantastic spot to take it in.
100%.
Four Peaks is great for any event. We had our draft party there. The Coyotes had their season finale there. We're gonna do so many other things with Four Peaks. Can't wait to do it because they've got all the great food, all the great beer, and the great vibes always going on there. 8th Street in Tempe. They've got the tap room at Chase Field. They've also got the Four Peaks in the airport that we've been at a couple of times. Four Peaks, got to be 21 years or older. Check out some great things going on, including the rest of this week. They've got the teacher appreciation. You can go help out, maybe nominate a teacher at fourpeaksforteachers.org, or you can get some tickets to a Diamondbacks game by just logging onto their Instagram, following along, at Four Peaks Brew and at Four Peaks Pub. You can find a link in the description, and you can get yourself 4 tickets with some D-Bucks to spend at the D-backs game from Four Peaks.
Love our friends at Four Peaks and BetMGM Sportsbook. Love all of you. Hit that like button on this video. The Cardinals and the rest of the NFL, they're about to announce the schedule. But if you're joining us, if you have been joining us, we feel like we've got the schedule early. Let's see it one more time. Producer
Are we gonna put this out on our social?
Nah, well, let's wait a hot minute here.
You don't want to put it out there. You don't want to put our big Manscaped.
I like to
out
reward,
there.
I like to reward the people who watch the program every day. You know,
Okay.
I don't trust those gremlins on Twitter. I only trust the 200 people in this room. Week 1, Washington. Week 2 Week 1 at Washington. Week 2, home against the Giants. Home against the Cowboys in Week 3. Week 4 at San Fran. Week 5, hosting the Bengals. Week 6, they are at LA to take on the Rams. Week 7, another road game in the division at Seattle. Week 8, they are hosting the Baltimore Ravens. That's a tough one. Week 9, they're going to travel out west to JG's home state in Ohio, take on the Browns. Week 10, Atlanta at home, winnable game. Speaking of winnable, Week 11, Houston on the road, draft implications, hell yes. Week 12, the LA Rams come to State Farm Stadium. Week 13, they are at Pittsburgh. Got some tough away road games in the cold. They got their bye week, Week 14. We have that source. Week 15, they are hosting San Francisco. 16, Christmas Eve. Chicago Bears hosting the Arizona Cardinals. Can't wait to see that one. Week 17, JG returns to Philadelphia against the Eagles, and the season finale at home, Seattle Seahawks. Cardinals finished the year 2 out of 3 years home against Seattle, Bo.
Man, oh man. Look at this thing. I mean, when I look at this schedule, so Week 11, you've brought it up a little bit. Houston.
Yeah.
What's the appeal of this game? Like, I understand that they have the Texans pick. So it's just a win-win.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to specify something. AK deadline 24th is a Saturday. That Saturday, I should specify, is being treated like NFL Sunday. So most of the games are taking place that Saturday. Then there are a couple primetime games on Sunday. So thank you for correcting me there. So they're lumped in the early or later time slot of the regular schedule is what I'm hearing. But thank you for that specification. But Bo, to answer your question, so Week 11, how many wins for the Cardinals and Houston Texans when they play each other? I think each team has at least 2 wins. And I think there's going to be another team or two. There always is that throws their hat into the equation.
For sure.
I also believe
the team that the Cardinals open the season against.
100%. And I also believe, Bo Brock, that when this is going to be a tricky year and they're going to have to put out parameters, I don't think NFL teams purposely tank. But I do think if you're an owner and there's blood in the water, okay, there's blood in the water at the end of the year and your team is terrible and your owner smells Caleb Williams or Drake May or Marvin Harrison Jr., these are elite blue chip prospects. The two, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Caleb Williams, are borderline generational. Then I'm going to tell you right now, there are going to be teams that pull a Trace McSorley. They're going to start sitting their D-Hops and company, and that's going to be tricky. None of those teams, unfortunately, are within the last 4 weeks for the Arizona Cardinals. I think San Francisco, Seattle, and Philadelphia are all going to be in the mix, and I think the Bears are going to be more competitive than people think. But to Aaron's point in the chat, I think the Cardinals are absolutely going to surprise people.
Yeah, I think that they absolutely could.
AK Deadline, you're good, man. Don't worry about it.
What's that?
AK Deadline saying, never mind, I'm wrong. I just know Christmas Eve this year, whether it's Saturday or Sunday, is going to be the day where all the teams play.
Oh, yeah, Christmas is on a Monday this year. So Sunday, December 24th. What's up? Okay, so we nailed the schedule according to producer Emma. So if you're just tuning in, you've seen the schedule for the last 30 minutes. Congratulations, Emma, put this together. Hit the like button for that. That's a big like moment here. Johnny crushed it, pulled a lot of the weight here. So did the Cardinals home slate getting released and unveiled earlier this morning helped pull a lot of weight too. So
God bless.
There you have it. We don't have to really make any tweaks or changes to this. This is the 2023 Arizona Cardinals schedule. Do you see something?
The Week 18 against Seattle Seahawks is to be dated.
Okay, so but that was on. Yeah, so we're just waiting the correct date. If you just go 7 days or a week after the Week 17 game against the Eagles, that's where that would put you. So, all right.
Yeah.
So
No,
we're just TBD on that. That's outside of that, everything else is correct. I've never
we're very
scored
blessed.
this high on a quiz before.
No, neither have I. The big ones were what are they doing on Christmas Eve? That's what people wanted to know. Ask and you shall receive. When is the bye week? Ask and you shall receive. So we do our best here. Jim Belicious, thank you so much. $10 super chat. Lower expectations may make playing our younger, less experienced players more likely and benefit us in the long run. 100%. You're speaking to the choir. You're spot on. Hide this team. Let them make mistakes, because that was a big problem with the Vance Joseph, Cliff Kingsbury era is young players made mistakes. You're gone. You're an embarrassment. Get off the field, Zaven Collins, Isaiah Simmons. You guys can't play. I want to see BJ Ojulari make plays and make mistakes early so he can grow into his role. I don't want to see, with all due respect, Dennis Gardeck out there being overpaid, playing over BJ Ojulari. I know what Dennis Gardeck is and isn't. I want to know Garrett Williams, who spoke with Bo Brock in the media today. We're going to get on that. I want to see Paris Johnson Jr. at tackle at some point. So this is the best case scenario, in my opinion, for the Arizona Cardinals. Do we have it confirmed, Bo? No primetime games. Is that
no
confirmed?
primetime? No, none at all. And it's not a bad thing for this Arizona Cardinals team. Is Jim Bodacious is saying that, just they'll likely benefit in the long run. Absolutely for having lower expectations, no doubt about it. But we're looking at it, and everything matches up with what we have there on our own schedule. So let's see. Schedule notes.
You got anything?
Just putting together rivalries. This is just via the Arizona Cardinals putting out some just tidbits about each and every game. But we're not seeing anything. Sunday. Everything's on Sunday. Yep.
So once in a while we get something right here.
The game on Christmas Eve is at 3:25. I believe that's so.
Don't you
Arizona time? That's going to be 2:25 kickoff Christmas Eve.
What the motherfucker? What is that? Can I? I'm just gonna be frank. That's some bullshit right there. That's gonna. That could cause.
So they'll open the road. They'll open up their slate, and we anticipated this 10 a.m. Arizona time against Washington. Then 105 kick, 125, 105, 125, and then you start Cleveland. It's at 11. You've got Houston at 11. You've got Pittsburgh at 11, and you got Philly at 11. So 4 games in the East Coast time zone, or at least the early kickoff window for the Arizona Cardinals. Everything else is 1 or 2.
I'll be getting home about the same time as Santa. I might be running into Santa. He and I will be stumbling in for different reasons. I'll be stumbling in from BetMGM. He'll be stumbling in off the eggnog that night. That'll be tricky here in the Copa. Full schedule now out at Go PHNX Cardinals on Twitter. Check it out there, Bo Brock. What's the game you think the Cardinals can win that they're not going to be favored to win?
Ooh, put me on the spot here. Game that they would be that they're not going to be favored to win, that they're going to win. I mean, I'm looking at this schedule, and I think week 6 that's on the road at the Rams. So you're going to have to wait unless they become kind of an upstart team. Like, which game are they going to be finally favored in? Like, they're not going to be favored at the start of the season on the road at Washington. They're not going to be favored against the Giants at home or the Cowboys at home.
I like what Jose's saying. Dallas, baby.
You think they win at Dallas? I mean, I think they could certainly beat New York week 2.
You got to have Kyler Murray to win
where they're going to be favored. Like, when they release, and I'm sure BetMGM and other betting sites out there that we don't recognize are going to put out spreads for the entire season, and you'd be hard pressed to find outside of games against. I don't know if they're going to be favored against the Texans on the road. I think that they could be favored at home against the Rams. This game's the Sunday after Thanksgiving at home.
Good news. The Bears game is flexible to be changed and could be pushed to an early start time.
Okay.
So it had an asterisk next to it. Listen, not all heroes wear capes, but we need the NFL schedule makers to drop that puppy down. Drop it down to an early kickoff. Come on now.
whereas we're both tweeting. We're trying to get all this information out. Great podcasting, great YouTube showman here. No, it's as I mentioned, I think that week 9 stretch through about week 16 is going to be paramount for this Arizona Cardinals team to really get competitive during this season. And I know people they don't want to come on here and hear me say that they're going to take on in the first 5 weeks 4 playoff teams from last year, but that's the reality of the situation, and it could turn out bad. But when I look at, starting in week 9, they start to take on the Browns, the Falcons, the Texans, a down Rams team, and a mid Pittsburgh Steelers team. Then they have the bye week, and you've got San Francisco. But after that, you have Chicago. I think that you have a chance during that stretch to be very competitive and to start turning heads. Maybe you could pick up some momentum like the first year under Bruce Arians, right? Remember, there was no expectations for that team that year, and they ended up winning double-digit games, and they were winning into the final week of the season, still in the playoff race, right? You can really start to with good coaching and good drafting and developing with the class that they have right now. I think that they could start to turn some heads there and start to really, I don't know, string together a couple wins in a row if it's possible this season.
The people that are saying this team is going to start 0-9, I'm not in that camp. Number one, because I think Kyler Murray's going to play earlier than people think. And in the NFL, Mike Clay came out today, but I don't know if you saw this, and said the Cardinals have the worst defensive tackles in the NFL. And that's true. But we've seen this team with a ton of talent go to Detroit and be non-competitive. It is hard to lose 9, 11, 15 games in a row. It's almost impossible. These teams have down weeks, right? And the Cardinals have enough pride and opportunistic players. They're not playing for a coach that's on the hot seat. They're playing for a coach that's trying to instill a culture. They're trying to compete and win. This is not Atlanta, where it's this is the 3rd year of Arthur Smith. This is the 2nd year for Josh McDaniels, and the book is out on those guys. They can't coach. They can't win as a head coach. And players may start to say, I'm not into this shit. I'm not bought in. You've got the perfect concoction dynamic of quarterback chip on their shoulder, head coach young and energetic, a ton of young talent that's going to be hungry. And then the veteran players, Zach Ertz, James Conner, they want to stick around. They want to play out their contracts. They don't want to be cut. You don't have any prima donnas on this roster. Save me your Kyler Murray speak. I honestly believe this. Name one player on this roster that's overpaid, that's not going to be motivated to kick ass this year. I don't think there's any. That's not Budda Baker. That's not DJ Humphries. He's got no guaranteed money after this year. That's not, Hernandez, Kelvin Beachum on the defensive side. There's no Isaiah Simmons is playing for his life this year. He's trying to prove everybody wrong. So there's nobody on Sunday. You can just sit. What did we see too much from the Cardinal teams at the end of the year under Cliff Kingsbury? Is this ain't it. And they threw in the towel, right? And they had a bunch of star players, and they lost. Remember that game against the Niners during COVID? And the Niners couldn't even live in Santa Clara. They were living in Arizona. And Jeff Wilson went for about 200 yards against Vance Joseph's defense, cost them a playoff spot. Yeah. Cardinals had infinitely more talent. The NFL season is so long. There are so many narratives and storylines. You can't just say yep, Cardinals, 0 wins, 1 win, 2 wins. It's just, it's cliche to say, you got to let things play out. And you have to, Emma, let me see the schedule again. There's a game that you can play. It's called How Many Elite Quarterbacks Do the Cardinals Play? Not do they have, but do they play? Week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, nope. Week 5, yes. Then week 6, 7, and 8, no. Week 9, no. 10, no. 11, no. 12, no. 13, no. 15, no. 16, no. 17, yes. 18, no. They play, in my opinion, 2 elite quarterbacks, week 15, week 17. That should get you fired up, because you know what happens when average quarterbacks play? They're average, or sometimes they're below average, and that becomes winnable. They give you a couple turnovers. Your defense feels live. You can start running the football. That's why, at the end of the day, as much as people are just slobbering all over the chance the Cardinals finish last and the Houston surprises, Houston plays in the AFC, where it's just a quarterback gauntlet of elites. Look at this trash mountain of quarterback play. Not everybody can be the San Francisco 49ers. So I'm telling you right now, Jalen Hurts is elite, and Joe Burrow's elite. Stafford's on his last legs. Oh, and Lamar Jackson, if you want to consider him in week 8, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. Dak's thrown almost as many touchdowns as interceptions in like his last 24 games. Desmond Ridder, hello. CJ Stroud, no thanks. Geno Smith, barf. Kenny Pickett, baby hands. Kyler Murray would be the better quarterback in at least 3/4 of these games if he's healthy. Just everybody take a beat before you turn in your ticket, and they're not going to win 4 games this year. It was a big reason why last year was tough because they played a ton of elite quarterbacks.
That was amazing. Step down off your soapbox. Take a bow. Unbelievable. Just trash the entire quarterback class that they're
not any good. I mean, the rosters could be better, but
Kenny Pickett, baby hands. You just went through and roasted the entire just group of quarterbacks that the Arizona Cardinals are going to play. No, well done. I can appreciate it, but at the same, it's really going to come down to when Kyler Murray comes back and is ready to play for this team. Because outside of that, because the alternative to Kyler Murray right now, very cloudy. Arizona Cardinals need to figure out who's going to be the guy that's going to lead this team in the interim before Kyler Murray gets back. That's going to be so important as far as if they want to have any success out of the gates. Like I know you want to run the football, but you're still going to need, like, if you could put Colt McCoy in a position where he's throwing the football 20 times in the rest of the offensive snaps or run plays, and you're able to pick up first downs and score touchdowns that way, then great. But it's going to be tough. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's going to be, the assignment becomes a lot tougher than it took us to put together this schedule. It's not going to be as successful before it's released.
If they have this man right here, Bill Bellamy, whatever his name is.
What the hell is that?
If they have this man right here, they're winning more games than people think. There he goes. He's back to the training room. If they're not, now, if they have David Blau out there blowing it up, then they're not going to win very many games, right? But something tells me, though, that's not their plan. David Blau, Colt McCoy can't move. He's doing color commentary for Arena League or whatever it is. Clayton Tunes never played an NFL snap. Like, Kyler Murray looks pretty good lately. Modern medicine, freak athletes tend to heal a little bit quicker than people think. If Kyler Murray's all right,
Joe Burrow was back week 1. Carson Wentz was back after 3 weeks after tearing his ACL at a similar time as Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
There's a precedent for it now. And David Chow told us that he could come back week 1, but is he going to be the same guy? Is he going to be the same athlete at that point in time in his rehab? No. And then you take into consideration what JG told us, and he's got to be 100%. Got to be 100% mentally, physically. That doesn't seem like that's something they would push for. But when we look at the schedule and it's Washington week 1, I think that becomes people might scoff at that, but that's a winnable game without Kyler Murray.
100%. It 100% is. Let me ask you this. Put the schedule up again, and we got it right here. Thank you, Emma. Kyler Murray comes back after week 4. How many wins do you see? Let's say Kyler Murray misses the first month of the season. He's back by week 5. There's 13 games left in the season. How many wins you got him for?
Well, I mean, it's a tough assignment right out of the gates against Joe Burrow. And
at home, though.
Yeah, I know it's at home, but come on. I mean, the Bengals. The Bengals are a team that's going to be in the AFC, championship game potentially till Joe Burrow retires. And you've got to figure this defense out. Like, this defense has less talent than the offense. And I'm not trying to poo-poo this. This is a fun day. But you've got Cincinnati right out of the gate. That's tough, but that's going to be a fun game to watch. That's going to be a game that they can certainly compete. And like with Kyler Murray gives you a chance. He absolutely does. That's what he does with all the entire schedule, is he gives you a chance.
Kyler Murray, as a rookie, gave the Cardinals a chance, and the roster was in worse shape than this, especially offensively. That rookie year, Kyler's out there running around. Keyshawn Johnson, Andy Isabella, right? There's no D-Hop. Christian Kirk in his second year. Offensive line was terrible. And that team was competitive, and I think they won 5 games. They tied a game. Everybody just – now, if Kyler Murray doesn't play, and the whispers we hear about, from reputable people, Rap Sheet, friend of the program, initially saying, like, who knows, midseason could be beyond that, then we're going to have a tough time. It's just it's that saying, you're not going to have a good time.
I haven't heard that for a long time though.
I know though, but I'm trying to caution everybody if they're digging their heels in, which I don't think they would. But if there's a 20% chance, as here in the chat, Demir Bird, yeah, he was pretty good that year. If it's November 1st and where's Kyler Murray and this team's got one win, wave up. You might want to wave up that white flag. When did we wave up the white flag for this season though? It was when Kyler Murray went down. Yeah. And then every Sunday I had to talk my co-host into saying, let's have a competitive game. And then let's look at the draft standings. Let's try to win in a different way, Bo Brock. And thankfully there were no cameras around at the PHNX headquarters when some of those games went down. And look at that. We have Paris Johnson Jr. and infinite picks, and we're all better off for it.
Yeah, they do, including the Houston Texans pick, which can be very good. Did anybody see what the Texans schedule looks like? I know what we saw, the overall larger picture, what the win percentages of the opponents coming in, and it's like a 30th ranked schedule. But have we seen like how it plays out?
I'm going to send it to Emma. Emma, can you get it full screen on the show for us?
Yes, sir.
Can't wait to see that, because that becomes part of this conversation the entire season. But I think that if you can get yourself, this is kind of like last year where DeAndre Hopkins was the first 6 games, you had to keep your head above water for those 6 games, right? And if you could, then you put yourself in a position to take off afterwards. Now it never happened, right? But you still put yourself in that position. And if they can, like getting through these first 5 weeks, which I think is probably their toughest part of this schedule, then you can if you get Kyler Murray back, then you can get into the conversation about, okay, we can change the narrative around the 2023 Cardinals, where everybody had them 32 out of 32 as far as rosters and finishing at the bottom of Mike Clay's mostly every chart that he made. And as far as, the win totals, them having the least, the smallest win total of any team at 4.5, according to Vegas. So it's going to take weathering the storm in the early part of the season, but also keeping in mind that at any point, if you can find any momentum, if you can win back-to-back games, if you can be competitive during any stretch, that creates momentum for next season.
This just gives JG a chance to really dig in with these players and fly under the radar. Like I can tell you right now, Jonathan Gannon doesn't care about primetime games. He doesn't. He wants to be able to embed his culture and his mindset into these players. And like, this is a different scenario than we got to witness Mike McCarthy's first year with Dallas, fumbling around. They were under 500. Everybody said he was a joke. Like, I don't want that for John Gannon. But the Cowboys are a different brand, obviously, than the Arizona Cardinals. Newsflash. So to me, it's like, okay, let them hide. 4th place schedule, no primetime games. Everybody's discounting them. They don't have Kyler Murray. I think that's going to do a huge benefit. We've got Houston's schedule ready to go. Before we get to that, Bo, I want to tell everybody, you know what I did earlier today? Went to Circle K. Dose Polar Pops, 2 for $1. Hello, unsweetened iced tea. That's how I'm fired up to give you the scoops, the details on the Arizona Cardinals schedule with my friends at Circle K. We're so excited to partner with Circle K. Check out your local Circle K. Best coffee, beer, snack selection, premium gas at not a premium price. If you don't want to miss out, and you shouldn't, all you got to do, text PHNX to 31310 to join their SMS subscriber club. Get a buy one, get one free offer on a 32-ounce Polar Pop. Again, buy one, get one free, 31310 to join the SMS subscriber club. Tons of discounts. It's all there for you. Head to circlek.com/store-locator to find the Circle K nearest to you.
And no specific order here, but go to Circle K, go to your local dispensary, go to Circle K. Either way works. Go to your dispensary, though. Get yourself OG's, Arizona's Cannabis Kitchen, and they're cooking up all the great little treats, all those gummies that everybody knows and loves from OG's, and they're making it easier for you as far as what OG's is doing. They're making the experience even better. We didn't think it was possible, but they're doing it because they're taking their unbelievable assortment of gummies and they're making mixed bags now. It's unreal what they've decided to do. it seems simple, but nobody's really done it until now. They're revolutionizing the game. They continue to do it. The fruits, the creams, you can get them all in one bag. You can also get that strawberries and cream, that happy balance ratio that everybody's looking for, that CBD to THC ratio. You can find that. Or if you're having trouble getting to sleep at night, well, OG's has something for you as well. They've got that sleep time gummy. They've got that aquaberry flavor. It's delicious, and it's going to help you get to sleep, stay asleep. Don't miss out on any of their great products. Make sure you're following on all your socials at OG's Brands. That's at OG's Brands, and check them out on their website for all their great products. More info on that at OGsBrands.com. That's OGsBrands.com. Got to be 21 years old or enjoying responsibly, of course.
All right, so we're all crying in our tears. No primetime games. Actually, 3 other teams didn't get a primetime game. So it's not just the Arizona Cardinals. The league basically told 4 teams to fuck off this year. Houston Texans didn't get a primetime game. Okay. CJ Stroud, D'Amico Ryan, no cachet there. Atlanta.
Hey, Johnny, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Is it good if you have a team that didn't have any primetime games this season's draft pick? Does that mean that there's low expectations? Probably.
Can I interest you in a Will Anderson Jr. that doesn't affect your point spread? No Falcon primetime games. No Colts, Crazy Jim Irsay, Anthony Richardson primetime games. So 2 out of the 4 teams that play in the AFC South don't get a primetime game, that's tough to believe. The Chiefs, Bills, Chargers, and Cowboys, no surprise, have the most primetime games with 6. Nice to see the Niners
Chiefs,
suck on that
Bills,
one.
Chargers, and Cowboys.
Yeah, with 6 each. Packers got 5. So let's continue to let's continue. Yeah, let's continue to dance on the grave of Houston Texans. No primetime games. And we're just going to be lapping this up, baby. So we will have a tracker throughout the year, the suckage of the 2023 Houston Texans and how it's like the little guy from Price is Right. And then he goes down. That's what's going to happen. Yeah, that's right. So here's the Texans schedule for this year. There's a lot of
out of the gates.
There's a lot of trash on this schedule, but then you also have to remember Houston also trash. So, and Jacksonville, borderline elite now. We'll see. All right, you're looking at this schedule. I'm going to tell you right now, the only wins that I see right off the bat, I think that they will beat the Colts at some point this year. I think they'll at least split with the Colts. They could beat Atlanta. They could beat Carolina. And they could probably beat the Saints. I think that's it.
I don't know if they can beat Carolina. I think Carolina's got a pretty good defense.
Okay.
I like they brought over the DC right from Denver.
Yeah.
Coach him up. Brian Banks and crew. I don't think that's as easy win, but I see a lot of losses on this actually. I mean, as far as how it stacks up, especially at the beginning of the season where, Lamar Jackson is going to be motivated week 1, right?
Yeah.
I think Trevor Lawrence week 3, that's a tough draw. I think the days of them competing with Jacksonville are done for a little bit until Stroud kind of finds his way at the NFL level. But then it gets, Carolina's not, you got Carolina, Tampa, but then you get back to Cincinnati, got another game against Jacksonville. And they finished the season kind of against some teams that you can appreciate, like the Jets and the Browns.
Well, in those divisional games at the end of the year, those will be tough.
Yeah, I mean, if they're out of it and you probably won't have Tennessee competing for a spot. You probably, those are 2 teams.
But Vrabel's not throwing games at the end of the year.
It's such a garbage division. It really is.
That Colts game is going to have a lot of draft implications because the Colts could be terrible, and we think they will be. But Vrabel will be competitive till the very end. I mean, they got to win games in Cleveland this year. Stefanski and Deshaun, and Vrabel in Week 15. Like Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, Sean Payton will have his mojo by Week 13. I think at best right now, barring something unforeseen, this is a 4-13 team, which I think is going to be, which is going to be good for a top 5 pick. They're over under. I think with the Cardinals is 4.5.
Can we put that back up? Can we let's just go through this real quick? Okay, Week 1 loss. Week 2, this is that at Indy?
No, that's home. Give them that one.
Okay, I'll give them a dub. I don't know if they're better than Indy. I think just as far as roster wise, I think Indy's a lot more talented.
Didn't Houston almost beat the Chiefs last year, late in the year though?
Yeah,
Remember
but
that
look, I
game?
mean, Al Pacino any given Sunday.
Okay. All right.
Jacksonville,
I'm
L.
gonna give them Colts 1-1. All right.
Pittsburgh, L. So
1-3.
Okay. Atlanta.
Everybody's penciling in wins against Atlanta. Atlanta's going to win some of these games. I'm going to say they have to go to Atlanta. I'm going to say Atlanta wins that game.
2-3, or is that 2? Okay, so what would you have, Matt?
1-4. They're 1-4.
Okay, Saints, Derek Carr. Saints. Does that inspire any hope?
He goes back to well, he didn't play in. His brother played in Texas.
That's an interesting revenge game.
Yeah,
that's a long way to go.
They're going to lose that game.
Carolina,
because I think the Saints will be better early.
Tampa, my God, Tampa. I don't know. Baker and crew is Baker touchdown maker gonna?
We're gonna give Houston that one. Sorry, Top Bills.
All right, Cincy, L. Big showdown between the Cardinals and
Electric. That's gonna be the game of the year.
If Tyler's playing, I think the Cardinals win that one. Correct. Jacksonville loss. Denver probably a loss.
Yeah.
Jets is a definite loss. And then you kind of got a crapshoot in these Tennessee games, depending on who's in contention at this point of the season and who's not.
I'm gonna tell you right. It's a 4-win team max, right?
I think max you can give them 6 to 7 wins.
7?
Yeah.
With what? Look at their wide receivers.
If CJ Stroud turns out to be a decent quarterback in the NFL level, I know Ohio State quarterbacks have it. What? They play in the AFC South, and they're
playing. Is Marvin on the team?
They play the AFC South. It's their divisional foes, and then they play the NFC South, which is not great either.
They are not allowed to pick outside the top 5. That would be blasphemy. There's no way they sniff 6 or 7 games. No flipping.
That's worst case scenario for the Cardinals. That's still
Corey. He is on OGs. He knows better than to be on OGs while we're doing the program, talking about Houston winning 7. Product. He does. Yeah. He's a Cardinals. I think their ceiling is 7. Houston's ceiling is not 7. No chance. CJ Stroud, Will Anderson Jr. are going to do it by themselves. I like CJ Stroud. I think he's going to be good, but not with that team year one. Now they got that running back that people like, the kid out of Florida from last year, but he got hurt.
Dameon Pierce.
We're gonna be charting it. We're gonna be talking about it, and we're gonna be rooting hard against the Houston Texans. And I don't know if you can watch them on Fubo TV, Bo, but if you don't want to dabble with some of these egregious prices right now that are going on with some of these streamers, you can dabble with Fubo TV and be much better off. 140 plus live channels, sports shows, movies, news. You can stream live TV from any device. You can watch the most Arizona sports at the lowest possible price. And if you're like, Johnny, I'm cynical to all this. Hey, right now you can do a 7-day free trial with Fubo TV. No contract, no cable, no hassle. I'm all about no contracts. Just let me go and come and please as I want. They've also got 1,000 hours of cloud DVR included at no extra charge. ABC, ESPN, NHL, PGA, French Open, WNBA, F1, whatever you want, fight nights, UFC boxing, do it with our friends at Fubo TV. Watch, hopefully, the Arizona Cardinals on Fubo TV come this Sunday, come this fall. Use the link in the description. Get signed up, 50% off your first month with our friends at Fubo with Fubo Pro. From Fubo to Foco, right? Yeah. What was the toy you were showing earlier? That was not a Foco. It wasn't. It was awful. This is a Foco. Yeah, see, that's legit. I can tell that actually is J.J. Watt. That's supposed to be J.J. Watt, and they get everything, the essence of the future Hall of Famer. They do. As that moment where he said, "Source me." We've come a long way since this, haven't we? Yeah, we have. We've fallen, but Foco has not. They've trended in the right direction, and you got to get yourself if you love figurines, things to kind of dress up your office, your entertainment center. If you watch any of our shows on PHNX, I mean, right behind over Johnny's shoulder, he's got one. It's the leading manufacturer in sports and entertainment merchandise with product line that it's got accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. And it's got all the best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. You don't want to mess out. You got to check out our friends over at Foco. Of
course, FOCO always wants to hear from their Arizona sports fans. They've got some of your favorite players of all time. Get the best gear and check it out at FOCO.com, FOCO.com. Use the code PHNX for all non-presale items. Use the promo code PHNX and you'll get 10% off your order.
Our guy, Howard Balzer, PHNX Cardinals beat reporter. I don't know if we had this or not. If you want to dabble with some preseason action, Cardinals play Denver week 1 of the preseason. That is usually always in play. Kansas City week 2. The Vikings week 3. I don't have locations yet for those, but Clayton Tune likely to start one, if not multiple, of those games. So Denver week 1. We can hang out with our friends at DVR. Kansas City
they have
week
one.
2.
I think you've got Denver here, you've got KC here, and then you've got Minnesota
on
Minnesota
on the road. Cool. So a couple chances in the preseason. Come out, watch guys try to fight for this roster. I'm going to tell you right now, I think a ton of young players obviously are going to play in these preseason games. Those reps are going to be super valuable. Paris Johnson Jr., BJ Ojulari, maybe Garrett Williams is back. Speaking of Garrett Williams and company, Bo, you had a chance to talk to a slew of second and third day rookies of the Arizona Cardinals today at the team site.
Yeah, we talked to 4 of them today, including second rounder BJ Ojulari and Garrett Williams, and they were obviously the most impressive. You could just feel the confidence from both of these guys. BJ obviously prides himself on being a versatile pass rusher. Everything that Nick Rallis described this guy as, he kind of echoed. Same thing went for Garrett Williams. It wasn't like cockiness. It was just this kind of confidence. Garrett Williams kind of in passing brought up that in high school up to his junior season, he was a quarterback. And then during a 7-on-7 tournament, they were down a couple corners and they said, "Hey, can you play corner?" And he came away from that weekend with 6 picks. And they're like, "You're a cornerback now." So he switched on that side of the football. And, Nick Rallis told me last week, he said he's a guy that plays at that position still with a high motor and violence, and he kind of encapsulates. So does Ojulari as far as what they're looking for on the defensive side of the football, or just overall as players. Also talked to John Gaines II, the offensive lineman, versatile offensive lineman who wouldn't commit to playing center. I mean, he said he's going to do whatever he can to help this team win. If that's playing center, then he's going to do that. He's got versatility. He can play guard. He played, all 3 positions as far as, tackle, guard, and center at UCLA. He was quoting poetry in his press conference, just off the cuff, was just dropping just lines from poems. And then, it was an impressive group. It was an impressive group that I'm trying to remember. So we talked to Ojulari, we talked to Gaines, we talked to Garrett Williams. Who am I missing out of that crew?
Michael Wilson.
Yeah, the wide receiver came in. He obviously has a lot of respect for the wide receiver room. I think he understands what the assignment is for him year 1. And he's a guy that I don't think is going to let the opportunity of being an end of the 3rd round pick kind of slip through his grasp. Really seems like he's motivated. It sounded like it was just a brutal blow to break his collarbone against Notre Dame early last season. And the opportunity to go to Mobile and play in the Senior Bowl really kind of catapulted him back into the draft conversation. He even maybe considered going back to Stanford for his 6th season. So it seems like he's a guy that's not going to let this chance of being a day 2 draft pick for the Arizona Cardinals fall at the wayside. So you look at that wide receiver room as of right now. DeAndre Hopkins is the leader of that group. Hollywood Brown, Rondale Moore. Obviously, we know his issues as far as staying out of the training room, getting on the field. But then you've got Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch. I mean, it is a top 10 group as it stands right now.
I love Agent 47's comment. This is what the preseason is all about. Let's see Michael Wilson cooking in the preseason. And I think when talent jumps off the preseason, it's evident. Greg Dortch last year jumped off in the preseason and it translated. You remember that game? I think it was against Baltimore. They had that tight end and he flourished in the preseason against the Arizona Cardinals, that rookie tight end. And then he went on to have a really nice season. I would love to see Michael Wilson have that kind of impact, get his confidence back, because, physically he's got all the tools. It's just like, I've knocked him. Just he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And everybody's pushed back saying it's not soft tissue, it's flukes. And I get that, but trouble staying healthy at the collegiate level.
He played at Stanford for 5 seasons. That was a necessity as far as just, and he considered it 6th. Like being in the training room, it
It's a problem.
Extreme. It crushed it as far as him as a draft prospect. And, you hope it's something that isn't like he's, hurt players stay hurt. You just hope that that's something he can shake off once he gets to the pro level.
But here's what I'll say. The Cardinals have built themselves up a luxury of picks where you can use a flyer and make Michael Wilson almost pick number 100. And if it doesn't pan out, it's not going to kill you. You can't make Michael Wilson a first-round pick, a top 40 pick. But you can use those picks on Paris Johnson Jr., who, by the way, was one of, I think, 5 Cardinals signed their contract today. Paris Johnson Jr. is walking around the valley in a Pat Tillman jersey today. We don't have the photo. Go look at the Cardinals social media team, Instagram, Twitter. I mean, like, I'm going to make a statement right now. Paris Johnson Jr. is not busting. In fact, he is going to be a Pro Bowler. I am so bullish on this player. He has it all figured out, and he's not played an NFL down yet, and he's got to get the pads on. He's got to stay healthy. He has checked seemingly every box you would want him to check. His press conference was fantastic. We had his position coach on from Ohio State, says he's one of one, hardest working player on the team in the unit. He's got generational talent. He plays a franchise cornerstone position. He comes from Ohio State, and now he's 100% bought it. He's walking around with a Pat Tillman jersey on. It's 90 degrees here, and it's awesome to see. I could not. He's outside of Kyler Murray. I don't remember a first-round pick I'm more fired up for than Paris Johnson Jr.
Yeah, he blows you away. I mean, he endears himself to you immediately. It comes off as somebody you want to root for. I mean, whether it's, on the playing field, you see the athleticism for a big man. You see the size, right? You see the ability to manhandle defensive players. And then you see, you hear him talk and you hear, the different things that he's involved with off the field, how he was writing for the school paper, how, as far as the philanthropic endeavors that he gets into, his own foundation that helped, kids and families in need and veterans in need. It's really, he's a really impressive kid and really easy guy to root for. And if he can back it up with his play, that's even better. I mean, he's a first round talent on and off the field. And then I was almost as impressed by, their day 2 picks with BJ Ujulari and Garrett Wilson and Williams, apologies. And then, and Michael Wilson. And then you've got Jonathan Gaines, who's a guy who's bright. I'm in the camp where I just don't think it's realistic to think he's going to go from playing, 100 snaps at center his junior year, not playing center last year, to starting at center on an NFL team year 1.
You've talked me into Yell to be in the center of this team this year, at least, in the short term, and then we'll see. But I don't want to be a hypocrite because I bitched and moaned that Steve Keim would play guys in a position, right? If this kid is comfortable at guard and is a mauler at guard, guess what? Cardinals aren't good enough at guard currently, all due respect to Will Hernandez, to not play this kid at guard. And if the answer to that is, well, Paris Johnson Jr. is going to play guard early, I mean, to be frank, give it a couple weeks and somebody's going to be out of that lineup. And if John Gaines, as a 4th rounder, is your first guy off the bench for a team like the Arizona Cardinals, that's a hell of a 4th round pick, because you're going to turn around. It's going to be Thanksgiving. You're going to potentially have him and Paris Johnson Jr. in the lineup. Those guys, could never give those jobs back. Paris especially. Once Paris tackle, he's staying at tackle. But if Jonathan Gaines could come out, and this is another reason I love this draft class, you could tell, too, when you spoke to those players today, in Wilson, in Garrett Williams, and especially BJ Ojulari, these guys have been playing big-time college football for almost a half-decade. And in Wilson's case, it has been a half-decade. These are not a 1.5-year redshirt kid coming to the NFL super green, right? These guys are ready to participate, and they're ready to compete. And there are a lot of guys on this Cardinal roster that are complacent, that need to ball out if they want to get paid, if they want to secure a job. There is no assurance. If Paris Johnson Jr. is a better tackle in training camp than Kelvin Beachum, he will start over Kelvin Beachum. There's no allegiance there with this coaching staff. If BJ Ojulari is more explosive than Dennis Gardeck and Majay Sanders, guess what? Guess who's playing? The rookie out of LSU. That should really invoke, sense of optimism with this fan base that for so long under Vance Joseph, not as much with Cliff, but with Vance, it was like, yeah, that player's better than this player, has more physical attributes, but I can't get him to do what I want on the field, so we're going to play Ben Neiman. We're going to play these middling street free agents, and we're going to suffer, and it's going to really hurt us on Sundays. Those days are over. Yeah. And I'm fired up to see that. So long story short, Jonathan Gaines comes in, and beats the holy hell out of the Cardinals defensive line at training camp, they will find a spot for him.
Can I just kind of poo-poo that a little bit?
Don't.
I'm going to.
I guess you can.
Chase Young, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat.
Yeah, it's
that front seven for the Washington Commanders week 1. I think it would be with the veterans you have on this offensive line, like if they're healthy and they make it through training camp, you would probably be better served to send out more of a veteran.
It's the NFL though. Paris Johnson Jr. is the 6th overall pick. I'm not hiding him from anybody.
You look at the schedule. I think that there's going to be opportunities to where you can get these guys and work them into the lineup and then keep them in the lineup. But I think right out of the gates, I mean, the Washington front seven is daunting. It's daunting.
That's fine. But listen, everybody's competitive in the NFL. I mean, everybody's got a guy that can come in and kick your ass on the defensive line outside the Cardinals defensive line, right? Maybe the Raiders. But I don't want to get to a point, and they won't, where you're stunning the growth of young players because, I mean, I like Kelvin Beachum fine, and he's been a really nice player. But we all scratched our head when they signed him in March to a 2-year deal. And especially now you have Paris Johnson Jr. on the roster. It's like, okay, Kelvin, I need to see Paris Johnson Jr., who's the 6th pick.
I think Paris Johnson Jr., I think he could certainly hang, right? And he can find himself at the left guard spot. He can find himself at one of the tackle positions, but it's like Jonathan Gaines going from facing Cal to facing, I'm a little hesitant to say that. But look, if he outright wins the job, then I'd love to see it. I think I would love to be proved wrong and comes out, holds on to one of those starting positions early on.
I just feel like, and I get what you're saying with everybody not named Paris Johnson Jr. Like if the deeper we go into training camp, especially like we're going to see DJ Humphries not participate some because his body's breaking down. And Kelvin Beachum is in his mid-30s, right? Like Paris Johnson Jr. at some point, I know everybody's like, he can play guard. I said that during the draft season. That can help you in a pinch, but like there's a good chance Humphries and maybe Kelvin Beachum aren't on the team next year. And Paris Johnson Jr. hopefully is going to be wearing a C on his chest in 2024. I want to see Paris Johnson at tackle this year. Quicker rather than later because I think he's elite. He's an elite prospect. He's a blue chip prospect. And, DJ Humphries has had a tough go for about the last 18 months. And Kelvin Beachum, he's like that, 4 starters, got a couple nice curveballs and can get you 6 innings and 3 runs allowed. But like, I want a complete game shutout. And that's what Paris Johnson Jr. can offer you at some point.
Yeah. PJ squared. Wait for it. You like it? PJJ. It's been a great schedule release show. We're going to get our first real look at this rookie class tomorrow as they hit the grass. We're going to have all the sites from that. It'll be out there for about an hour tomorrow, about 9:30. If you want to follow along at PHNX_Cardinals, we're going to be posting videos. You'll get to see Clayton Tune, hopefully rip it at the quarterback position. Watch Paris Johnson Jr. warm up, play some offensive line for the Cardinals. Gaines, BJ Ujulari, probably won't see Garrett Williams. He said he's about 5 months away. So Arizona Cardinals, your first look at the rookie class and the undrafted free agents that they signed after the NFL draft. They're going to hit the field tomorrow, and the rookie minicamp will have all that coming from you. Plus, Jonathan Gannon's going to speak afterwards. We'll get some insight from JG. He'll break down the schedule as well.
Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your podcast. Go to gophnx.com. Become a diehard. Check out PHNX Suns tonight. My guy Shane Diefenbach filling in for Mr. Espo and Saul Bookman as the Suns try to take down the Denver Nuggets in Game 6 of the Western Conference semifinals. Remember who had the schedule first. It was your friends at PHNX Cardinals. In the meantime, for Bo Brock, I'm Johnny Venerable. We're back tomorrow.